so it will not get slippery on busy days. Sand in Latin is arena. That's why we call these kind of buildings arenas, and that blood-absorbing sand. There were two more levels under the floor arena. The underground part of the building was very busy during the games. About 300 people were working there. Looking at the center of it, you should be able to see a row of square chambers running parallel to the long axis. Can you see them there? There's actually 4 rows of chambers, even though you can only see one from here. The wild animals are led through narrow tunnels on the ground level. They could go in one direction only, until they got trapped in one of the cubicles, where a system of counterweights, a lift, would have brought them up as a trap door was opening on the floor of the arena. There should be 28 trap doors, 7 gates around the arena, and a stage manager planning and organizing when, where, and what is going to be popping out on the floor of the arena. Even gladiators could have come out through there. Whenever the wild animals were on the floor of the arena, well, the crowds had to be protected. The marble wall surrounding the arena couldn't be any higher than the first row of seats. You know, some of the first level seats are reconstructed on the right here, showing how far from the arena the first row was, right? Not far enough, obviously. They had to place a much higher metal net all around, with archers, you know, ready to shoot down the animals, trying to climb the nets. But I want to remind everybody how the Colosseum was built in 80 AD. Well, we know that during the first 2 years, that part of the building under the floor of the arena was left completely clear. There was nothing built there yet. And the Romans are able to remove the floor of the arena and fill it with water in just 24 hours, maybe using a nearby aqueduct. And that was done to actually stage naval battles in this building. They called them naumachías, using a Greek word. 4 to 6 boats with 15-20 prisoners of war on each one reenacted famous historical sea battles in the Colosseum. The men on the boats had one way out, killing their opponents. If one of those men fell overboard and tried to swim away, the archers all around would have been ready to kill him. They only had very few of those shows in here, and maybe simply to surprise the crowds coming to the newly built Colosseum. If we consider how in town already is a much better place for this kind of shows, a much larger artificial lake. Then the area underground was all built. And what also was under the floor of the arena was a system of cranes and counterweights that could be moving out trees, rocks, something else. A whole new stage set up could be emerging from the area underground within minutes, and part of the floor of the arena could even flip over. The Gladiator's Armory was also down there, and the morgue. Questions, anybody, before I move on? No. Okay, let's go this way.
Fight war, you see. One at the time the most I have shook it down with an earthquake. You see it in the room. Keep it on done, tell them already, You see it?
That's why he left here. Because if
We go along the building.
he knew what he was, she didn't want to put it
Whole heap of miles to come here. In a room.
Humans are early in the morning.
I'm gonna run this ceremony
again. Many people watching public executions at midday, and the royal contest in the afternoon. Those are traditional daily program. So there'll be men hunting animals using one light javelin only. Gladiators fighting wild beasts. The ancient writers report things like 200 bears, all at the same time in the arena with an army of gladiators, or 400 lions killed in one day in the arena of this building, just one day. There were fights between bulls and bears, bulls and elephants. Things like 5 hyenas starved for 2 weeks and let into the arena with a hip hook. Or fun experiments like robbing a slave with the scent of a female lion, and then pushing him in the arena with 304, really hungry. Excuse me.
Crash.
Okay.
Melt.
Really hungry male lions. I mean, we had two options, but it didn't happen. It seems that the lions didn't fall in love. That was really done. The wild animals are also used for the executions of the lowest criminals. The men who were supposed to be killed were wrapped in the scent of an antelope or a similar animal to make it more inviting for the wild beasts. Wild animals are kept in complete darkness and with no food for about 2 weeks. By the time they were let into the arena, they were furious and angry. Some slits would be there, teasing, in the arena, teasing the wild animals with spikes, whips, and so on. Because the cheering crowds, could be terrified for the animals. But, there were different other ways of, killing people in here. You might be watching some bizarre combats in which a fully armed man fought a man. He only had a little tiny sword and no protection for his body. The fully armed man will most likely kill his opponents. That'll be stripped off of the fighting gear. Still tired from the previous fights, he'll have to fight another fully armed man. And that went on until everybody was dead, except for the last one. He would have been the first one in the list of the following day. These kind of fights are called in Latin sine missione, without a way out. Or you might be watching mythological representations as well sometimes. I'm sure that most of you are familiar with the myth of Icarus. White wax wings and he flew too close to the sun. The Romans got the poetic side of that story. They put some wings on a criminal and then they dropped him from a really high point. Inevitably, this kind of representations were ending with a death of one or more than one of the actors. Executions again. So you'd be finally watching the gladiators in the afternoon, and that was the highlights of the day at the Colosseum. What are at least 14 different types of gladiators? One said that one was really tall and big, like an American football player. He'd be given a full heavy armor, a large rectangular or oblong shield, and a heavy sword. And he'd be called the Somnus. His traditional opponent was a man, well, maybe smaller than him, faster, more agile, with a round shield, a relatively short sword, and a light armor, similar to a Greek soldier. The most original kind of gladiator was probably the netman, who had to catch his opponent with a net and kill him with a trident, a 3-point spear. But the only parts of the netman's body that was actually protected was the left shoulder and the left arm. He had some sort of a sleeve, a special protection. The rest of the body was unprotected, even the head. Seems the netman died more frequently than the other gladiators. Your agent told you, I need you to become a netman. It was not a good sign. Now, typically, a gladiator will be training for 1 year before he fought his first real fight. Then he'd be fighting, 2 or 3 times a year. Consider that 1525 might have been an average career according to the records that we have. We know that a small percentage only the one-on-one fights was fought to death in the arena of this building because, the most expensive gladiators only fought here, the best of the best. But one of them died, the emperor had to pay a refund to the agents, and it was a lot of money, so they could not be wasted easily. Let's say not killed as easily as is seen in the movies. There'd be large slaughters of people only following the conquer of a new province, and once in a while, when a number of prisoners were walking into town, wastable material, not even properly trained, just turning there to be slaughtered by a bunch of experienced gladiators. When the Emperor Trajan conquered present-day Romania in 107 AD, he had 123 consecutive days of games in this building, 4 months of games in this building, during which 4,500 gladiators were killed. During the one-on-one fights instead, usually to referees, the fight could be stopped simply to have gladiators drink some water, or to have a doctor check on somebody's wounds. When a man was unable to continue fighting because he was wounded, if he still could, he'd be dropping his shield, right, and he'd be raising his left arm to ask for mercy. This meant I surrender. The referees would stop the fight. And as the crowd was shouting, save him or kill him, which was part of the final coming here, well, the emperor showed his decision, and that was maybe done by showing the thumbs down as you die, right, or the thumbs in as in a sword has to go back into the shit, so you live. The thumbs up is definitely a myth that came from a wrong translation of an ancient writing made popular by movies. Following, this one, the man allowed to be killed,